Hey traders, Raghi here, and in this recap video I'm not going to talk about the market that it seems that it would be natural to chat about, which would mean all the equities weakness we've seen today throughout what was a very dramatic sell-off today. But I think one of the things that a lot of traders do is they minimize the futures markets to simply what's happening with the Dow, the S&P, the Nasdaq, etc. What I have my eye on are a number of markets that continue to be very good to us and have nothing really directly to do with the equities markets. I mean, everything's going to be affected by risk appetite in equities, but are still maintaining uptrends. And those are markets like the crude oil market and natural gas. Both these markets are in uptrends, and both of them have their inventory releases tomorrow. And we're going to be looking to buy pullbacks on these. In fact, last Thursday, just 1 week ago, we did something similar with really nice results. We bought pullbacks with the weakness, and we watched these markets resume their uptrends. I cannot express this enough. The equities markets are not the whole marketplace. Look for where there is still clarity and play the clarity there. We have been trading crude, natural gas, the bonds to the short side, gold to the short side, and looking for different opportunities to buy the US dollar. Whether that's against the Australian dollar, whether that's against the yen, whether that's against the New Zealand dollar. We've kept a large group of markets open that simply just doesn't relegate us to what's the Dow doing today or what's the S&P doing today, right? Now, by the way, I don't want to completely ignore these markets. One thing to mention is that we have broken what was remaining of any kind of uptrend in the S&P and the Dow. I mean, obviously. But let me actually also mention, where did we know that? Right here. Right here. Right there. And we already knew this was pretty choppy, but that broke right there. Knowing the line in the sand is huge. Why? Because if you do have any buys, that's where you get out. And if you want to transition to becoming a more nimble, aggressive short seller, you had all of this to play around with. And that's the value in the grab candles. When do you know the trend is done? When do you know support is over? When do you know to bail on the buys? In fact, in 2 out of 3 of these, that's exactly what we did. Okay? We've been buying and buying and buying for a while, and it's been very good to us until the buying environment is gone. And that's really what I want to drive home, at least on these charts. And really, there isn't much more to say than that. For those of you that are wondering, is this a downtrend? It is not. It is now chop. I know it's hard to believe. And here's something that's really interesting. And I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but you know what? This is a great thing to share with everybody, and I think it's a really important point. And I did this in the chat room with everybody. The length of this particular line that I drew is this. Okay? Right there. It's actually got a little longer since okay, so there's the length of that candle today. Take a peek. Look at the range we've been bouncing around in. Darvas range, even this range. It's a little bit greater than it, not by much. If we had taken all that time, if we'd taken all this time, 2, 3, 4 days to get down to this range, I don't believe the market would have been panicking, right? In fact, the market knew there was weakness, but nobody was panicking. There was weakness, sure. But we were looking for maybe a little bit of support in this area. We knew there was resistance up in here. But when we get all this in 1 day, completely different response. So is it how much the market moved? No, it's the fact the market basically sold off by pretty much the equal amount of distance that this range has been in. And I know, and I'm sure some technician out there will say, well, of course, Raghi. Well, that's great. But nobody expects it in a day. They'll look for it over the course of days, right? Nobody looks for it in 1 day. The margin calls that could be initiated here could be very interesting. So please don't go to try to put in that hero trade and pick a bottom. Don't do it. Okay? I would be very cautious here. Let's see how Asia responds to this. But I just want to kind of remind everybody, had this happened in segments over the course of a couple days, I don't know that people would have been as panicked. But because it happened in one, Very different psychology. Okay? All right, so that's kind of where we're at. Keep an eye on gold, bonds, natural gas, crude oil, and US dollar buys. And we're going to dive into those, which have continue to be productive and really good trades for us. We're going to dive into that in the premium update. I'll see you in the next video, gang.